So now we're recording. Oh, let me switch sides. I am in office. I'm all.
We're not. This is like the first time we've done Medicare Cafe live with each other in.
I know it's weird.
Months.
It's weird.
It is weird. I'm
I feel like I have to leave the room.
I honestly need my mask for other reasons, not COVID related.
Valid. Yes.
Welcome to the Medicare Cafe. As always, we are your hosts, Olivia Richardson.
And I'm Mike, and we're just doing a live Q&A today. So any questions, comments, concerns, threats, or promises, really this time?
Yes.
Put in, and the first question came in already from Deborah.
Can we give a little bit of background of why we're doing this and what's going on?
Because we're lazy and we didn't want to come up with a topic.
No, that's not why.
Oh, that's not. Oh.
So traditionally, especially if this is your first time on the Medicare Cafe, first of all, welcome our friends. The reason why we decided we wanted to do just a full 30 minutes or 15 to 20 minutes on live.
Or 5 minutes, when questions come in.
Question and answer is because my favorite portion of Medicare Cafe, and I know Mike's too.
Is the end?
It's the end. It sounds bad. I mean, honestly, the end is kind of the best part, but it's when we get the opportunity to actually answer the questions. Typically, we'll have a topic that we have planned out in advance. Mike makes beautiful slides. We do some education, but at the end of the presentation, most of the questions actually have nothing to do with what we talked about that day. Yeah. And I love it. There's no problem with that. That's like my favorite part. So that's what we wanted to do today, was to have nothing planned and to take full advantages of the questions that you guys have for us. So you don't have to wait the 25 minutes for Mike and I to fight, argue, ramble on just to answer your questions. So any questions, comments, concerns, threats, or promises, put them in that questionnaire box. Mike went ahead and asked some questions ahead of time on social media. We're going to answer those as well. But yeah, ask us anything from Medicare questions, carrier questions, marketing questions, sales questions. What did we have for breakfast? What's our cat's name? Anything you want to know.
How do I say looking so young?
Anything you want to know, just feel free to ask. Now you can get started. Now that I set the stage.
Brian asked a real question, and he even said, "Kiss his grits." So
kiss his grits.
Yeah, but we're back up to Deborah, and we'll say your first name so you know we're answering your question. We won't say your last name. Some people we can't pronounce it, so apologize in advance. But is it too late to send a spring newsletter? No, because summer doesn't hit till July. June, July? When's the first day of summer?
I think the first day of summer is June.
I don't know when the first day of summer is.
The important thing is, it is actually, I love that question. It is not too late. Essentially, what you want to do is you don't necessarily have to name it a spring newsletter, but just a quarterly newsletter that comes out.
Yeah.
If you do want to go ahead and name it the spring newsletter, right now a lot of areas in the country are just now experiencing warmer weather. So it seems more appropriate than maybe earlier March whenever we had a lot of really intense cold chills. So to answer that, nope, never too late. Any communication is good communication.
Yeah, Paul and fix this for us. It's June 21st. So end of June. You got plenty. We just entered spring, so you're good. I would say up to the end of May, you could probably send a spring newsletter.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. May, in my opinion, is like the May flowers. May is still an appropriate time to do spring newsletters for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So Paul wanted to give a shout out to Matt. I'm assuming we have 2 Matts.
We have 3 Matts.
3 Matts. We do have 3 Matts.
We have 3 Matts.
We have 3 Matts. Yes. He says super great resource for information for any questions that SMS can help with. Very agreeable. Give him a call. Must be talking about Matt Beach.
Not necessarily.
Because he's the most agreeable. Matt Beach is my favorite of the Matts. No offense to other Matts. But Matt Beach he's the silver fox.
Okay. So there are 3 Matts. All of them are on the sales department at Senior Marketing Specialist. Matt Beach.
Oh, you said McVeigh. McVeigh's good too. But he's not the silver fox. Sorry. I'll go back over here.
Matt McVeigh is on our agent outreach team, and Matt McVeigh is an amazing resource. He works specifically with agents both who have a contract with us and agents who do not have a contract with us, but he's amazing at portfolio reviews and making sure agents are paired up with the right companies, and he's really well versed in all 50 states to let you know what works in your area and what doesn't. So he is
Matt Beach is great for support and for Call of Duty questions. So very up to date on.
Let's get to a question, Mike.
Yes.
Paul, let's see. Lee, I have to wear my glasses. I'm going full.
Come on, Grandma.
If someone missed the enrollment deadline when turning 65, I realize that there is a Part B penalty. They can still apply for the supplement, or do they have to wait until AEP? So a lot of questions to be asked there. Again, somebody misses the enrollment deadline. They have their Medicare Part A, but maybe they don't get Medicare Part B. Keep in mind, to be eligible for a Medicare supplement or a Medicare Advantage plan, they do have to have both A and B of Medicare.
Enforced, not applied for.
Yes, yeah, it has to be enforced. Now, if they only want a prescription drug plan, they can have A or B. They don't have to have the both. But for a Medicare supplement or Medicare Advantage plan, it does have to be A and B. Now, how does open enrollment work for the Part B for MedSup?
Huh? It works. So
I regret
what
this
do
session.
you mean for MedSup?
So for Medicare supplements, the way that it works is that when they finally enroll in Medicare Part B, maybe they do so during the general enrollment period, or they have some other election that allows them to enroll in the Medicare Part B, that does open up an open enrollment period for the Medicare supplement. And it opens up a special election period for Part C and Part D as well.
Oh, I didn't understand your question.
Yeah, I don't know that I worded it well.
No, you worded it well. It's my fault. Yeah. Clearly my fault.
Standard.
Yeah, because if they miss Part B, don't they have to wait also, depending on when they missed it, to enroll into, they have to wait until January through March to enroll into Part B, and then wait all the way to June when it gets effective?
So if they miss their window into getting into Medicare Part B, they have to wait until the general enrollment period, which runs from January 1st to March 31st. And that is for a July 1st effective date.
That's what it is. Yeah.
So they would have, starting July 1st, they would either have the 6-month window to get a Medicare supplement plan, or that would have the GEP as a special election period to get a Medicare Advantage plan. Does not work for a standalone PDP. Does work for a Medicare Advantage plan.
And if you're ever in a situation like that in the home, or you could say you leave the home, or if it's on the weekend, call us during business hours, and we could help walk through that with you and your clients.
Yes.
And try and maybe find a magic loophole. Who knows? Can't guarantee that, but we get lots of questions like that all day long.
Awesome. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, we're down to Brian's real question.
Oh, gross.
When a high earner starts Medicare, can they dispute their future income to pay a lower Part B premium their first year? Yeah, I mean, they can file an appeal, absolutely, because it goes 2 years back. So my philosophy with my clients, real world, is always been file the appeal, because even if they say no, you're still in the same boat you are in, because Medicare is ran by humans, and humans are full of error. So it's going to be, because the big question we get a lot is if someone gets an inheritance and boosts up their income for that 1 year, it's like, that's not my true income. That was an inheritance. You could fight it. And I say fight.
So the way that the penalty works, again, reminder that what Brian's talking about here is IRMA, income related monthly adjusted amount. IRMA sounds like a hurricane. Goes for Medicare Part B and Part D. Again, they've determined IRMA based on the tax returns that you have 2 years prior. So there are a list of about 7 things that you can, if one of those things happened 2 years ago, you do have the right to file an appeal.
Yes.
One of those is, have you lost income since then? Basically, did you quit your job? Did you retire? That's a reason to appeal. Did you get a divorce? Did you get an inheritance that year? So there's about 4 or 5 more things, but there are a list. You can find that on Medicare.gov, a list of things that allows you to have an appeal for the IRMA, income related adjusted amount. So yes, you can. Again, that appeal, you can call 1-800-Medicare. I actually recommend there is a formal form you can file online by going to Medicare.gov.
100%, yeah. But again, not hopefully, but more than likely they're losing income because they're no longer a full-time employee, and they can claim that they are losing income. So again, it doesn't hurt to file the appeal. I say file, and hopefully they get a reduced.
If they have one of those 7 situations, it will pass. Deborah asked a question. I have some old leads about 2 months. Should I try calling them again just as if they were new?
Yeah, I mean, I say yes.
Let me ask
maybe not as new.
Follow-up question. What type of leads are they?
That's a good follow-up.
Internet leads, telephonic leads, mail leads, Facebook leads. I will look for your response, but depending on the type of lead that it is going to change how I answer that. They are never throw away a lead. If it's 2 months old, 6 months old, 5 years old, never throw it away, because at some point it was somebody who identified that they wanted help. So final expense internet lead.
My question real quick though is, because you said as a new lead, and it's if you never contacted, never got them on the phone, in my mind, that's always a new lead, because they've never heard your voice, you've never got in front of them. If you've talked to them and they said, well, you know, hem, hum, maybe, stall, call me back later, that's not really a new lead. I would pick it up where you left off. So it depends on the communication you've also had with that individual lead, whether it's been there is a little bit rapport established or no rapport at all established. No rapport at all established, it's always a new lead till you build some rapport.
But keep in mind too, a lead is somebody at some point, something triggered them to say, yes, I want help. So if it's an internet lead, keep in mind, internet leads are considered cold after 3 minutes. So if it's beyond 3 minutes, it's typically a cold lead as it is. My recommendation, and also keep in mind when it comes to internet leads are generated by somebody filling out an online form and requesting assistance or requesting help, which is why they're cold after 3 minutes. You know that that person at one point identified something and asking for a final expense. You don't know how many other forms they filled out before you. My opinion, call, introduce yourself, say, I know at one point you were looking for information on final expenses. If you've had that taken care of, wonderful. I'm glad you made that decision. But I did want to introduce myself. I am a full service agency, so I handle everything from helping you stay healthy and alive to what happens if you don't and you need that final expense plan. Call, introduce yourself. All a lead is a name, a number, and a reason to call. So absolutely, I would go ahead. It's just you're going to approach it differently versus you asked for this, I'm here to give you this. It's just going to have a different approach.
Yeah, but I would say, you know what, my philosophy on leads is it's either the next move's going to be laid out or you're never going to call them again. So they should always be pursued unless they tell you, stop calling me, leave me alone. I'm filing a restraining order against you.
Perfect. So thank you for that question, Deborah. If you have follow-ups, let us know. We'll go and read through them.
Yep.
Brian is calling you a model.
Of course,
yes.
Before model, but that's still a model. I like this next question because it's a good one, and they're all good. And so, real quick, if you're ever in front of a client and they're asking you questions, I was listening to a podcast and they were interviewing someone, and every time they were asked a question, the initial response was, "That's a great question. That's a great question. That's a great question." I'm like, okay, after the 4th question, you can stop. So if you're talking to a client and they ask you questions, don't say that's a great question every single time, because then you just sound fake. We're not doing that, of course. You haven't done that.
What an interesting time for a rant.
My ADD is in full effect today.
Clearly.
So I'm also haven't eaten yet.
Okay, Mike, the question.
Yes, the question, can a referral be given to someone who does not have an insurance license? So I'm assuming the question, if I'm hearing it right, is like, let's say Olivia is a licensed agent, has her brokerage, and she's all established. Can someone give a referral that's not licensed, or can she give out a referral to someone who's not licensed? The only time an insurance license comes in the effect of referrals is there any compensation? So that's where you have to watch it, because Medicare Advantage and Part D plans have a limit on the amount you could say a thank you for a referral. And that's the only thing. So if there's no compensation in anywhere of it, which we both recommend, do not pay for referrals, there's never an issue. Because it's just someone passing along a name and there's no laws against that.
Yeah, the best way to burn a bridge is to add finances to it, because what you define as a referral is not what someone else will define as a referral. Referrals, when it comes to things like Medicare supplement, ancillary products, there aren't really a ton of rules tied to what a person, if you are to charge, again, not recommended, there aren't really any rules assigned to that. Where the rules come into play in the $15 or the rules as far as compensation goes actually only applies to Medicare Advantage and Part D.
Right.
The way the rules work for that is you can't pay a referral fee based on if you write the policy or not. It's kind of you either give all referrals money, whether you sell them or not, or you don't. And I think it's only up to, what was it, up to $50?
I thought it was 100, but I'm not sure.
It might be. It's somewhere
in
there.
It caps, put it that way.
But again, at that point, it becomes a transaction. You're actually going to see less results from it. One of my favorite things to do is I've worked with agencies that they do, anytime I get a referral, I put your name into a drawing. But this is more not for your professional referrals, it's for client referrals. Every referral you give me, I put your name into a drawing. And every month or every 3 months, we do a drawing to give away a bicycle, something that's really great for grandkids, or like a play set, something, again, a little more high dollar, but you're only doing it 4 times a year. So it's not necessarily a huge expense. You are likely to see referrals given on a consumer basis because they want their names entered in those drawings.
Yeah, something along that nature. But yeah, referrals in general, you're good to go. Because that's, we always do it. Yeah.
We don't recommend doing a pay per referral. It'll burn bridges.
Yes. So next, Jay, basic question. Love it. When can you not drop an Advantage plan and go through underwriting for a supplement plan? I thought a client could do that whenever they wanted.
So when you have a Medicare Advantage plan, special elections apply. You cannot enroll or disenroll into a Medicare Advantage plan willy-nilly whenever you want. Now, some people will say, well, what about if I just stop paying the premium for my Medicare Advantage plan and they kick me off? Fine, good, whatever. However, you don't have a prescription drug plan then. Because in order to disenroll from Medicare Advantage plan, you typically enroll in a standalone PDP. And so if you just quit paying and just disenroll from everything, you're going to have that late enrollment penalty from that prescription drug plan. So it's not so much of disenrolling from the MA that's the problem. It's then getting that prescription drug plan, which again, you do have to have a special election for.
So can I go in left field for a second?
Where else have you been today, Mike?
Valid. What about someone that has veterans? So let's say they don't need the Part D plan and they want to drop their MA plan because let's say they don't like it. So I'm a veteran, I enrolled in an MAPD plan. I don't like it. I just want original Medicare back and I want to drop it and I don't need the Part D plan. Can I just drop it whenever I want if there's no premium?
If there's no if there's no premium, essentially what you could do, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they can disenroll because no company can force you to stay in it. They can write a letter saying, I want to be disenrolled as of this date. And I think pretty sure the company has to comply because the company can't force you to keep the insurance. They just have to let them know that there are ramifications to dropping it midstream or outside of enrollment period. But
I don't think that's true because, and again, we need to do some research on this to answer that question. Again, my concern would be not so much disenrolling from the MA plan, but how do you pick up a drug plan? Because a drug plan, but in your case, if somebody has a veterans, I'm almost positive that they would have to stay in that MA plan until the annual enrollment period or until OEP. And the reason I think that is because Medicare has already given that company the money for the year to manage that person's healthcare. So they can't drop it mid-year without a valid reason.
I bet you they could. It just wouldn't be easy.
We need before we give like what we think, we need to find the answer.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to learn that answer. Won't happen very often. It's good to know.
You know what scares me though is that I wonder if there's a different policy for every carrier, which would be a nightmare.
That would be my
guess. That's what scares me because carriers can have their own process for dropping plans and loopholes and hoops to jump through. So it may be this way with one company and this way with another. So just keep that in mind.
All right. So I kind of answered.
Howard hitting it heavy here.
Okay. Sorry. Glasses. Howard asked, are there any state attorney generals taking action against the Joe Namath Medicare discount card? Agencies that are clearly using bills and switch tactics. Bait and switch tactics. They have hurt a lot of people in my area. Now, if I heard the Joe Namath ad once, I've heard it a million times. Here's the situation with that. Absolutely, there's always going to be complaints with that. The best thing that you can do for your clients is to actually have your clients complain to Medicare about, I didn't know what I was signing up for, I was misled. However, you have to keep in mind these organizations and agencies like eHealth and sometimes the carrier themselves have a ton of money in the game and have a ton of pull when it comes to those political
Lots of lawyers
decisions.
hanging around.
Lots of lawyers. The best thing that you can do, honestly, and I'm not a member myself. I'm not a huge advocate for them. The best
You're
thing
not Medicare?
the best thing you can do is actually to join your local NAHU chapter, a National Association of Health Underwriters. NAHU works, they are responsible for eliminating the scope of appointment rule. They're actually working really diligently right now to get COBRA approved for the credible coverage for Part B. NAHU is an organization that has a lot of money to hire towards lobbyists to work in Washington, D.C. to get a lot of these things corrected and fixed. It is something on their radar. It is something they are working for. The best that you can do to help is to support your local NAHU chapter.
I 100% agree with that. And also will add, if you want your clients to have any sort of pull with this, 3 letters, DOI. Have them file a complaint with the Department of Insurance because they're pretty much a neutral source. And half the time they don't know what they're doing, but that's okay because they'll start throwing letters out there, and no carrier wants to be under a DOI investigation.
Yeah.
Or no business wants to be under any investigation of any state agency. The DOI is the mothership of it all. So I would help your clients file formal complaints with the DOI, and that typically scares carriers and agencies to comply.
Now keep in mind too, if your client has fallen victim to the Joe Namath ad and signed up for something they maybe weren't familiar with or weren't understanding of what they were signing up for, they can file an appeal to Medicare and see if they can get that reversed. Unfortunately, that appeal to Medicare, though it does work and it does oftentimes those get overturned, doesn't allow an agent to be agent of record. It makes it to where the agent, Medicare themselves, they don't have an agent on file. Medicare enrolls them into the plan, and so it doesn't really help you, the agent, with that client, but it does get the client into the plan that they want. So keeping that in mind.
Yes. Lee asked a question below about now, which is after March 31st. I'm not sure.
So he's referring to the Part B stuff when we were talking about the general enrollment period between March or January 1st and March 31st. If your client doesn't have some other type of enrollment period to get Medicare Part B, like losing group coverage or something like that, and it's outside the general enrollment period, then they have to wait until January 1st of 2022, and their coverage will not start until July 1st of 2022 as well.
But Medicare's on your side. Remember that.
All right, Sandy, what's your question?
Her question is, I can't do a female voice, so Sandy, you're going to be very masculine today.
Can we try?
If someone has A and B, I'd see it doesn't work.
I guess we don't know that Sandy is
Sandy could be male.
So
I mean, no judgment. I can see. Sandy.
Sandy's kind of a two-way name. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. If someone has, sorry, Sandy, it's all in jest. We promise.
We lose focus.
If someone has A and B and is working, does retirement, I'm assuming coming off group, open a MedSup enrollment period for any MedSup or just specific MedSups?
I love this question.
Yes.
So there's a lot of situations here because I want to make sure that I'm answering specifically for that situation. I've been talking a lot. Do you have something?
Well, if they have A and B already and they come off a group, then it is the limited amount. So it's like A, B, not C, unless they were previously eligible for Medicare. So there's that 2020 window. A, B, C, F, K, L is the standard. And then if they're eligible for Medicare past January 1, 2020, take C and F out and add G. And do you add N as well?
Nope.
I didn't think so. You just add G. Okay.
No.
What? Oh, that's right. C goes to D and F goes to G. Basically, L shifts over 1. So yes, that's how that works. Confusing? Yes. That's why we're employed.
So essentially what this means, and to put it into layman's terms, is that if a person has A and B of Medicare already,
yes,
if regardless of when they enrolled into or what the case may be, when they have A and B of Medicare and they're losing credible coverage, maybe if it's group coverage.
Group union employer.
Yes, then that's going to be guaranteed issue, like Mike was talking about. Not open enrollment, it's guaranteed issue.
Right.
A, B, C, F, K, and L, or A, B, D, G, K, L.
I haven't memorized that one yet.
Yes. So those are the two options. But here's the tricky part. You mentioned the word retirement benefits.
Yes.
If it truly is a retirement plan and they are voluntarily dropping their coverage, in some states, that is guarantee issue. In other states, It's not. They would have to go through underwriting. That's specifically for Medicare supplements. Some
Right.
states voluntarily dropping coverage, guarantee issue, sometimes is not. So make sure you pay attention to what state you're in. Now for prescription drug plans and Medicare Advantage plans, it doesn't matter if it's voluntarily or involuntarily, they can enroll using a special election loss of credible coverage.
100%. And just to add to that, if someone is retiring and they only have A, if they decide to enroll in B because they're coming off credible coverage, then it's just open enrollment for MedSup, and it's any MedSup underwriting free.
Yeah. So again, that it's the important part whenever somebody's disenrolling is that Part B. It really important is do they have their Part B? Have they had it longer than 6 months? If they have had it longer than 6 months, are they voluntarily dropping it or involuntarily dropping it? Because in some states that matters. Brad, good morning, Brad.
Yeah, Brad's got an interesting question about Oklahoma, because Oklahoma's okay.
State questions. All right. Let's
Have a client that turned 65 in December.
65 December.
End of March was the end of her IEP. Yeah, that's accurate. However, there's an SEP for weather in Oklahoma, because apparently Tornado Alley. Makes sense.
I think it was the floods.
That too, but they are Tornado
Not
Alley.
important. Keep going.
Yeah, I don't know. I will get her enrolled this month, so in April, into an MAPD since she has Medicare A and B only. Will she have to pay a late penalty for Part D even though there's an SEP this month?
Ooh. So here's why that question.
Because she's outside of 1 month.
Here is why that question is important. The Part D and penalty does not apply during the initial enrollment period.
But she's passed it, yeah.
And she's passed that initial enrollment period. I'm not going to give an answer. The only way that I would recommend calculating that is by doing what Mike always says. Don't try to calculate it yourself. Call the Social Security Department and they will be able to tell you if she is going to have a penalty or not. 1-800-Medicare will be able to tell you the same thing. They just draw their information from Social Security. So cut out the middleman, go directly to Social Security and see if they will calculate her Part D premium or her Part D late enrollment.
Right.
I personally, this is not the answer. I'm not giving an answer on that. I would guess that she will have 1 month's worth of a Part D late enrollment penalty.
So here's what I would do with my client in that situation, and you may be already doing this, is I always say there's never absolutes in Medicare until it's done. So you will probably have a 1 month late penalty that will follow you for life. We could file an appeal. If that does happen, we'll file an appeal, see if we can get taken off. Worst case scenario, you're paying an extra 6 cents, it'd be very inexpensive the rest of your life. Best case scenario, we get it wiped off, but plan on paying it. We'll try to get out of it. That'd be my advice to my client.
Yeah, I would say talk to Social Security.
It's a
weird
scenario, yes.
That's a one in a lifetime type deal, but call Social Security. I'm not going to give an answer. That's my answer.
And because I've seen weird things happen with Medicare where people fall through the cracks and nothing happens. A friend of mine that's an agent had this happen where they didn't have Part D and they got it later and they didn't get assessed a penalty, and then they got another Part D plan and all of a sudden they got this giant penalty. So you never know, stuff happens, but yeah, it's always chaotic.
Next, Lee. Nope. Next, Elise. A-L-Y-C-E. Elise. Alice. You're Alice now. You're changing your name to Alice.
L-Y-C.
L-Y-C. If someone puts their initial policy in place on 6/1 for Medicare supplements, what is the actual policy date? 6/1 to 6/1. Okay.
Yeah. So if it starts 6/1 and it's an annual policy, or it'd be 6/1 to 6/1 should be. Double check with carriers.
Ask about their anniversary date. Because the way that I'm reading that is they signed it on 6/1. So what's the effective date?
It said policy in place on 6/1.
Okay.
So if the policy takes effect 6/1, then it'd be 6/1 to 6/1, I think.
So here's the thing. Just keeping in mind, carriers, and this may not be what you're asking, but I'm just going to mention it anyways. Carriers will honor the effective date of a plan, even if the plan doesn't get approved until days later. Let's say you sign a policy for a 6/1 effective date, you sign it 5/25. It doesn't actually get approved until 6/5. The carriers will still honor the effective date as long as the signatures are still within the 30 days of them being signed. Signatures on MedSup applications and everything else are only valid for 30 days. So as long as the signatures are within 30 days and the signatures predate the effective date, they will honor the effective date.
Yes.
So.
There you go.
Lee. Okay.
Lee, so
Why do I keep taking off my glasses?
when a
I look like
MedSup
nerd.
and a Part D client move to another state, or in this case, you could even move across town because MedSup rates are like P&C rates where they sometimes are based on zip code. Where'd it go?
Right there.
No, you go up one.
I touched it. That's my bad.
Oh yeah. So when a MedSup and a Part D client move to another state, should the agent do the change of address and will the rates change? I've never done a change of address for my clients, but a lot of times, because Part D will follow Social Security.
Yes. The client will need to change their address with Social Security. Part D will follow. They will need to change prescription drug plans.
If they move out of the service area.
If they move out of the state.
Yeah.
If they move out of state, they will need to change the prescription drug
So for this, in this example, yes. If they move across town, no. But MedSups can change though, because let's say you move, because this happened a lot in Overland Park, where half the zip codes in Overland Park were this rate and the other half were this rate. So people would move across town, and while the Part D would not change, their MedSup rates would adjust according to their address.
So short answer, depends on carrier. Some carriers will keep the rates as they were in the initial state or in the initial zip code. Other carriers will change it immediately upon notification of address change. Some carriers will wait until the policy anniversary date to change the rates. Carrier by carrier, because MedSups ran by the Department of Insurance, they don't have to follow the same federal rules. So
yeah,
depending on that carrier, call senior marketing specialist. We will tell you how they handled that situation.
Yeah, 100%. Because I know a lot of carriers I represented, they wait till the end of the policy. So they would just wait until it was ready for its auto renewal and then adjust the rates then.
Lori asked a great question.
No, it's Mark.
And I just said a great question, and now I'm like self-conscious about it. Good catch, though. It's a great point.
Thanks.
It's a great point for a great question. Lori and Mark are asking, Lori, if and their husband and wife, they work on this together. Good for you. You're braver than I am. If I split my Medicare plans with my wife, Lori, will she get commissions for 100% of the plans, or should I pass away first? Okay, so that's a great question. What you're asking about specifically is succession planning. You're going to hate my answer. It is carrier by carrier. The important thing when it comes to succession planning, basically what we mean by that is if you were ever wanting to sell your book of business, if you were to have an untimely death and you wanted your book of business to go somewhere else, if you were wanting to pass that book of business on to someone else, that is what we consider succession planning, taking you out of the equation. Carrier by carrier. The best advice I can give to make sure your agency is set up as kind of a general rule is to not be set up as an individual. Have your commissions paid to a tax ID, either an S corporation or an LLC. Depending on the carrier, you can either have a person step in, become the new principal of that S corp or LLC, or you can have somebody that business transfer to them. It is next to impossible to have commissions transferred to somebody when you're set up as an individual. Some carriers will allow it, others will not. For example, Mutual of Omaha, there is absolutely no way to have business and commissions transferred to somebody if you're set up as an individual. So set yourself up as an LLC, an S corp, and talk to senior marketing specialists to make sure you have a succession plan in place to make sure that everything goes the way it happens if you either want to sell your book of business or you want to make sure that you're able to pass that book of business off to a loved one in the untimely manner of your death.
100%. When you get serious with this business, and when most of us are, you should have an LLC or S corp, or you should have some sort of business identity, not just your social security number. 100%.
Thank you, Brian, for the colorful commentary.
Yes.
Okay.
Just for that. All right, so I'll read this since you're half blind. All right, so this is I like this scenario. If you have a client who is covered under an employer plan, small group under 20 employees, so Medicare is primary, right? And they get their A and B, and they go on a MedSup or MAPD or whatever, but their spouse is covered by the employer plan, and they're 63, so not eligible for Medicare yet. Can they get on COBRA?
I mean, it's 100% goes by that company's policies.
More than likely, it should go on Cobra.
Yes. But however, a lot of
losing
times,
coverage.
a lot of times Cobra. Well, and here's the thing: if they're on, they still technically wouldn't have to. Most carriers will still be required to insure the spouse because the one spouse is still actually working. So on most of those policies, they would have to continue to insure the spouse because keep in mind they will continue to have the group employer coverage. Medicare will just be primary.
Yeah, but if they leave. But if they decide to come off of, if they get their Medicare A and B and choose a MedSup and Part D plan.
But that's the thing. Most people will not do that because keep in mind, even then, Cobra is only good for up to 36 months typically.
Well, so if she's 63, she's good. But if she's 60, she's SOL because that's 5 years. So I would say, yes, it does depend on the group because group is a unique animal because they can kind of write their own rules on their policies. So it's hard to, I would say, you just got to talk to HR, unfortunately, because some groups may say, yeah, we'll cover you, no problem. Other groups like, nope, you hit Medicare, we're done. You're off, get out of here. Some groups let you, like, I've seen a lot of groups in Kansas City, once you leave the group, you're gone forever. They don't let you back in. And other ones, like every time we have open enrollment, you could re-enroll even if you left us. So there's no one size fits all for group enrollments and group rules. They kind of write their own, which makes it very difficult on our end.
Tom says, so real question, is it time for Livy to do a dance? Absolutely.
Yes.
It is that time. And I want to keep going because we are 35 minutes into today's presentation.
And we still have a ton of questions left.
We still have a lot left. Dean asked if, let's come back to that one if we have time.
Yeah.
Well, no, we'll go ahead. I have a client that aged in last month but has not yet gotten his Part B. He's traveled out of the country on a regular basis. Will he have to wait to enroll into MAPD until the month after he has Part B because of him being 65? Gotcha. So here's the rules, and this is also another thing that NAHU is trying to eliminate. When somebody turns 65, if they delay their Medicare Part B by 1 month, so let's say I turn 65 in November, if I decide to enroll and actually enroll into Medicare Part B starting in December, and that's whenever I file the paperwork, my Part B actually doesn't start until January. If I wait 2 months, it starts 2 months later.
It's ridiculous.
It's kind of like a little miniature passive aggressive punishment for not enrolling the month of.
Welcome to America.
I know, it's really silly. So if somebody, again, if they're in that window enrolling in Part B and they wait, it actually, for every month that they delay it, it actually will delay the effective date by double that. So in this kid situation, it does sound like your client, would have a delayed Medicare Part B. There won't be a late enrollment penalty tied to that for Medicare Part B, but it would be delayed.
Yes. Yeah, it's Medicare is, it's like we're on your side till you have a problem, and then we're gonna make it as hard as humanly possible.
Yeah. And Lori says they both are licensed agents with SMS. So Lori, you guys absolutely, I know what Lori and Mark, I'm reading that. Lori and Mark, call us. Let's schedule succession planning to make sure you guys are set up to where if something happens to one, the other person will get those plans. Again, carrier by carrier, state by state, be incorporated or be a limited liability.
Yeah, talk to your CPA. If you don't have one, I can tell you go LegalZoom and set up an LLC for pretty cheap. So if you don't want to involve CPAs and lawyers, do your own thing. It's a couple bucks, but it's worth the streamlined process, in my opinion.
Alice, I don't know your name.
LYC.
What about the 12-month trial right periods? Okay, real quick.
The test drive.
It's a test drive. There are 2 types of trial right periods, special election periods for Medicare supplements and Medicare Advantage plans.
Yes.
One trial right is called Trial 65. Trial 65 happens when a person enrolls into a Medicare Advantage plan upon turning 65. So if they delayed their Medicare Advantage plan or they were eligible for Medicare prior to 65, they don't qualify for this. If they got a Medicare Advantage plan when they turned 65, they have 12 months to choose that they don't want that Medicare Advantage plan, enroll into a prescription drug plan, and be guaranteed issue or open enrollment into a Medicare supplement for those first 12 months. The second type of trial right is if somebody's had a Medicare supplement. Doesn't matter if they had the Medicare supplement for 7 years, doesn't matter if they had it prior to 65, if they delayed Part B, doesn't matter. They've only had a Medicare supplement. If they then, for the first time, decide to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan, from the time that Medicare Advantage plan starts, so typically January 1, because they do it during the annual enrollment period, they then have 12 months to test out that Medicare Advantage plan. If they don't like it, they have 12-month windows to enroll into a prescription drug plan, which will disenroll them from their MA plan, and then go back to that same MedSup plan, same MedSup carrier, basically act like it never happened. But they do have to go back to that same plan, same carrier, unless that plan and carrier is no longer offered in that state, then they have a guarantee issue period.
Yes. So we're going to skip down to here because all these are comments. We love the comments. Thank you very much. We read them all.
Yes.
We're just skipping down to the next question.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, so I've had issues with Medicare.gov RX lookup being it says accurate, I'm assuming inaccurate. What platform can we use for better accuracy?
Yes, Medicare Center. So just to give you guys an update, that is not an uncommon problem. Medicare.gov 2 years ago they actually used to use a platform called Connecture. Connecture did all the back end work for Medicare plan finders, the drug lookups, everything. 2 years ago, Medicare.gov says, you know what, I think we can do it better. Guess what? They were wrong. Since then, Medicare.gov has had severe accuracy information issues, and so that's why Connecture started and actually started going direct to consumer. By direct to consumer, I mean to local FMOs. So we used to have Enrollment Express. We now utilize Medicare Center thanks to our partnership with Integrity. Medicare Center does use Connecture, again, the old platform for Medicare.gov, and therefore they can guarantee its accuracy much better than Medicare.gov. So use Medicare Center if you have questions on that. Again, that is a platform offered by all Integrity partners, including senior marketing specialists. Call us and use it. It's awesome.
Yes. So next question, Melanie. Oh wait, real quick, Alice. It is Alice in pronunciation. I like L-Y-C, but you know.
Alice.
We're gonna make fun of you forever now. So you're welcome.
Laughing with you, not at you.
Yes. Melanie asked, I just found out that a supplement carrier can start a sub plan on any day of the month. Is that specific rule to each carrier and each state decides or allows? Basically, I think most carriers are like, when do you want to pay?
The only exceptions, United Healthcare makes you do it the first of the month. United Healthcare and AARP, you have to do it the first of the month. Every other plan will say you can do it anywhere until the 27th of each month. Reason for that? Not every state has 28 days. Looking at you, February.
Yes.
So, and that is, again, a Department of Insurance rule that is a state regulations. Most MedSups, not all, most MedSups will allow you to pick an effective date any day of the month.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit a couple of these comments real quick. Lori brings up a good point. COBRA is not credible coverage.
Not correct. For Part B.
Yes.
It is for Part D.
Yes.
Not for Part B.
Yeah. Thank you, Medicare, for making it confusing. I think that's it. Brian, I'm not going to read that. Okay, let's go to, yes, Tom's question. Tom, a federal employee signed up for Medicare Part A. She has retired and is keeping her Blue Cross Blue Shield federal health insurance. Does she need to sign up for Part B?
So here's the thing. Most retiree insurance, all retiree insurance requires A and B. The only time a person is not necessarily needing to get Medicare Part B is if they are actively an employer, so still working, of a group that has more than 20 employees. Any other situation, they need to go ahead and get Medicare Part B. So if she is truly retiring, going on a retirement plan, that means she's no longer actively working. Her plan, but even if she stays on that retirement plan, her retirement plan will require her to get Medicare Part B. That's just how it works.
I was always trained, whenever you have group situations, always call the group. Because if you assume and you're wrong, then you're wrong. If you did your due diligence and called the group and they gave you wrong information, now they're wrong and you acted off their information they gave you was wrong. So yeah, it's basically make sure you have a scapegoat.
Brian says this segment makes me look smart. Is it because of the glasses? Anyways.
No, you know your stuff.
I know my stuff.
I know, it's weird.
Melanie mentions COBRA is 18 months unless it's a divorce, so therefore it's 36 months, Melanie.
So get divorced.
Thank you for the, no.
Oh, what?
Thank you for the assist. Oh no, I touched things. Okay.
Yes.
That sounds bad.
Yes.
Is it true?
No, that's when you ask it. Male enhancement drugs.
Some male enhancement drugs, like Cialis, is actually getting covered now because it does help with certain heart conditions. So in some plans, I remember, what was it, like 3 years ago, one of the drug plans did have Viagra and Cialis on their formulary, sold like hotcakes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, just because it's not like, I mean, it does have to be prescribed by somebody. It is a medical, it is a drug.
Viagra was originally marketed for something else, not ED. So,
but yeah, but I mean, like, honestly, I know it's a joke, but keep in mind, there are some ED medications that are on formularies for prescription drug plans. It is a thing.
Yeah, there's off-label use for a lot of drugs.
Yeah, it gets, wording, Olivia. I'm not mature enough for this. Okay.
So basically, I'm going to ask you, and then Kim is asking, did someone ask what's the best CRM system to use as I'm getting ready to run my first app with US Fire? I don't know what that is.
I don't know US Fire.
CRMs are like pickup trucks.
I don't know where this is going, and I like
because you could ask 3 different people what you should use, and one person say Chevy, one person say Ford, one person say Dodge, one person say Toyota. Exactly. So it all depends on what you need your CRM to do and what your budget is, because a fully loaded Dodge Ram is a lot more expensive than a Toyota Tacoma base model. So there's 1,000 different variables, and it's a very individual basis. We got 3 that we recommend, but again, there's so many CRMs on the market, it's ridiculous.
The best way, like, we can give you our opinions on CRMs. We have ones that we use, we have in the past, what agents recommend. 3 things to keep in mind when you're shopping for CRMs. 1, is it cloud-based and is it secure? That kind of goes into 1. Cloud-based meaning that you don't have to be at your desktop computer in your office to utilize it. It stores all information on the mystical cloud. That's probably one of the most important things. And is that secure? Number 2 is it a place where you're just storing information? If all you're doing is just storing content in there, then it's not a great CRM. Your CRM should be able to do some proactive marketing and pulling files and things like that for you as well. Number 3 is going to be, what resources are you willing to put towards it? Are you willing to put a lot of time towards it and build a system yourself based off a template, or are you willing to pour some money into it? So one or the other, you're either going to invest time or money into creating that. 3 things. If you want to know what are good CRMs, call our office. We can walk you through that.
Yeah, real quick, Lori asked, and Kim has a follow-up with that, but Lori asked, what designation, i.e. or group membership is good to have for Medicare agents? So quick story. There was a designation many moons ago, the MSAA, Medicare Supplement Accredited Advisor. It was $300 to get. You could put initials after your name. Medicare came out and said, nope, can't have it. CSA, Certified Senior Advisor, came out, and some states said, nope, you can't have that. So 1, check with your state, because you may not be able to display any designations on your marketing materials and or business cards. Second thing, I mean, it's great information, but just stick with the cafe. That's a little self-bias answer there. You can get designations, but I'm not a big believer in designations.
If I was to join a group, I mean, today, honestly, I think the groups I would join be NAHU, because again, they are actively trying to get more involved in the senior market. They're traditionally individual and group, but they're actively getting more involved in the senior market. They've made major significant upgrades into our day-to-day lives as agents. Again, scope of appointments, things like that. And again, the cafe, be your friends.
Yeah, because I know California and Nebraska were 2 states back in the day. It may have changed since then, but I know when CSA became really popular, Certified Senior Advisor, they're like, the issue is a brand new agent can get that designation, and they're not really experts yet. So we don't like the fact that people could do that. So if you were a licensed agent, you couldn't display your CSA designation. That's why I never got one, and that kind of burned the bridges for designations for me. So that's, of course, my own opinion on it. I don't have any designations except TG, that guy.
Cool. So I don't believe we got 10 minutes. We went almost 50 minutes today answering your guys' questions. We will do this again sometime again, I love the live Q&A, asking the questions that you guys.
We were going to ask questions.
So if you guys enjoyed this, let us know, shoot us an email, let us know here. I enjoyed it. I think, again, making sure we ask the specific questions. I loved how many technical questions there were.
Yeah.
So
also, if we miss a question, or if you want to answer on your own or give some more feedback, you can go to the Medicare Cafe agent group on Facebook. This Friday, real quick, we're going to talk about how to fire a client, because there's some clients that aren't worth it, and we're talking about how to fire them. But if you go to Facebook and go to Medicare Cafe Agent Group, you can go in there and ask questions. It's only group members see. So if you're like, hey, I had this question, didn't get to it, or I just thought of it, throw it in there. Thank you so much. Or if we miss, because they come in out of order, so sometimes it's hard to read it in a linear fashion.
Perfect.
So I apologize about that.
Brad
You gotta
says,
get ready for new agent school.
I know,
I gotta get food.
in 10 minutes.
Yes.
Brad says he likes us a lot better than all the marketing questions he doesn't need. We'd like to offer just a splattering of things.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you guys got a lot out of this. You know, maybe we'll do this